Good morning, winners. Welcome to G'day Crypto, your home of the crypto news with the fast facts. The narrative driving the crypto market today, Coinbase is absolutely pumping. We can see here, it's up 9.72% in the last 24 hours. Couple of other articles we need to get through. Circle is trolling China, talking about CBDCs and stablecoins maybe being a better alternative. Couple of other things that we will get into as well. Couple of crazy price predictions, from some very prominent people. First, a little bit of housekeeping here. Thanks very much for subscribing. We are at block height 798,301, 6 a.m. on the dot. Good morning, Wednesday, July 12, 2023, local time. Bitcoin market exactly sideways, sitting at a perfect 1.23 trillion in the last 24 hours. You couldn't have made it any better. Bitcoin down a little bit, Ethereum down a little bit more. Everything is a little bit sideways, a little bit of up, a little bit of down. We can see Bitcoin though holding strong above that $30,000 level, 30,492. Yesterday it nearly broke 31,000. I didn't see that happen. You can see the high, 30,993 was the high. The low was 30,266. We're sitting pretty much spot bang in the middle there. A little bit more sideways accumulation will be good. If we zoom out, that's 1 week. If we zoom out 14 days and even 30 days, it looks very similar. If you cut off the first week of the month there, it's gone up and then it's gone sideways. This accumulation is very strong, very healthy for the market. Ethereum below 1900, it's sitting at 1871, holding very strong. It has for a long time above the 1800 level, down 1.1% last 24 hours. You can see a bit more of a sell-off than Bitcoin last 24 hours. It did break 1900 yesterday. It still hasn't gotten to that $2,000 level. It will happen inevitably. It may just take a little bit longer if we keep these prices down here. If we continue to consolidate, go sideways, it's all good. We'll see it sooner rather than later. So high 1908, low of 1865 last 24 hours there. This is crazy. This is not really crypto related. This is ChatGPT. They've hooked it up to like this 3D printer and it's handwriting. That's absolutely insane. I'll bring it full screen. I'll just kill the sound in case it's copyright. But look at that. Absolutely insane. The state of the world. Isn't that phenomenal? I don't know if I find that scary or incredible or maybe a little bit of both. I'd be interested to hear your comments there. Now, before we get into the news, Robert Kiyosaki is putting out a price prediction, and listen to this. I had to read it a few times. August 22, 2023. So he's talking about the future. So this is a prediction, a speculation. He's not talking about anything factual here. In Johannesburg, in August 2020, on August 22nd, 2023, in Johannesburg, South Africa, BRICS nations announced gold-backed crypto. US dollars will die. Trillions of US dollars rush home. Inflation through the roof. Buy gold, silver, Bitcoin to 120K next year. Now, I find that pretty interesting. Robert Kiyosaki is a thought leader in the financial space. He has called some things very well. Gold-backed crypto, Bitcoin. I do have some friends that have a gold-backed crypto, and it's probably one of the only altcoins that I think is worthwhile holding on because it is backed by Pax G, that's collective finance. Anyway, I'd like to know what your thoughts are in regards to that. Bitcoin 120,000 next year. That $120,000 price target, we're going to get into CoinSpot BlackRock soon. Just listen for a minute. That $120,000 price prediction is coming up a lot now, and a lot of people are calling that low. Worst case scenarios, obviously not financial advice. Worst case scenario for 100,000, 120,000 is our worst case scenario. A 3.3x, a 4x from here. That's pretty good in my books. 300%, 400%, happy with that. Having a look at the wider crypto market, a couple of big losers, no real big winners there. FTT, that's about it. Hex, nearly every day, Hex is down. Sorry, Richard. Nobody's let me know if they're still invested, so hopefully everyone has sold out of that. Be interesting. Now, Coinbase, showed you at the start, that chart there. As a stock, 9.72%, 24 hours, that's pumped. Absolutely pumped. Another day in crypto, I understand. But traditional stock market, that's a huge gainer. So Coinbase soars after reaching CBOE, surveillance sharing agreement with 5 Bitcoin ETF applications. Did climb as much as 16% on Tuesday, has come down a little bit. Now, Coinbase, they've reached an agreement with CBOE BZX exchange to maintain a surveillance sharing agreement for 5 of its spot Bitcoin exchange traded fund ETF applications. The agreement was settled on June 21 for 21 million. Today, the numbers have just lined up. For each of these applications, amendments to the original filings filed with the SEC on Tuesday showed. On June 21, 23, the exchange reached an agreement on terms with Coinbase Incorporated, an operator of a US-based spot trading platform for Bitcoin that represents a substantial portion of US-based spot trading platform for Bitcoin that represents a substantial portion of US-based and USD denominated Bitcoin trading, to enter into a surveillance sharing agreement, which is a spot Bitcoin SSA, and execute an associated term sheet, the filing stated. Now, the surveillance sharing agreement has become an integral part of all ETF applications filed recently. This is pretty interesting, this statement. The SEC has stated for years that these agreements are necessary to prevent market manipulation. If the SEC for years have been stating this, why has the crypto market waited until now to be able to incorporate it in this respect? Why'd BlackRock have to be the person that did it? Why couldn't somebody else figure it out before, if the SEC has stated it so clearly? I'd like to know your thoughts in the comments below. So NASDAQ, the securities exchange behind BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF application, has also reached an agreement with Coinbase, a filing dated back to June 29 said. Pretty interesting, and to see it absolutely pump in the last 24 hours, really good. Nothing really in the last 5 days. Last month sort of looks like the Bitcoin chart up and to the right. It's what we like to see. And a little bit more news with BlackRock with their ETF application. It takes surveillance to the next level, because this is what we want in crypto. More surveillance. At the end of the day, actually, I'm not opposed to it. For me, I'll be holding my own Bitcoin. I won't be buying a Bitcoin ETF. You need to do you. I'd encourage you to learn to self-custody your own Bitcoin, because this paper, Bitcoin can be manipulated, but it's not a bare asset. You're not holding the real thing. Learn how to take self-custody. Please do it. If I could teach one thing, if you walked away with one thing, hold on to your Bitcoin, not your keys, not your coins. What's more likely to influence the US SEC decision is an information sharing deal. An information sharing deal, which is a little bit different to the surveillance sharing agreement. That flips the position of power in the arrangement and gives regulators the right to demand extra background. The SSA concerns data surveillance carried out by the spot exchange. Coinbase in this case, which can be pushed to regulators, ETF providers, and listed exchanges if deemed suspicious. Information sharing agreements, in contrast, allow regulators and ETF providers to pull data from the exchange. So the SSA pushing, and the information is pulling from the regulated entities. Little bit different there. If they incorporate both, they're going to be pretty happy, and your freedom and privacy is gone. But that's what it's going to take to get the big institutional players in here. Is it good or bad, right or wrong? It is what it is. Won't be as good or as bad as what we think it is. An important caveat is that an information sharing request has to be very specific not dissimilar to a subpoena, according to a person familiar with the matter. So they're not just going to take everyone's details. It's for people insider trading, manipulating the market, doing something wrong, trying to launder money. Crazy story. At the dog park yesterday, and this guy was dripped out. He had this thick as gold chain, big gold watch, awesome shaped beard. His shirt would have been, I don't know, a $500 shirt. I can't remember the brand of what it was, but he was at the dog park. He was taking his dog for a walk. Hair was gelled up. He was so well put together. Looked like a very switched on man. And I asked him what he did. And he's a diesel fitter, owns his own business. Really interesting guy to talk to. And he said he was looking for something else to get into. He'd set up his business. He'd made a lot of money. And I said, have you looked into Bitcoin? He said, man, it's a scam. Stay away from that stuff straight away. And he said, everyone's going to get wrecked. He said, what you want to do is buy technology stocks like Amazon, Google, Tesla, and you want to buy as much oil as you possibly can. I did try to talk to him, share a little bit of information from my point of view. But at the end of the day, the thing that struck me most is he said he'd rather hold dollars. And I asked why that is. And he said because he can physically hold them and it's not there in the ether. And he's got them in his hands. And I said, what happens when they print more on those dollars and your hand worth less? He's like, I'm still holding them. I thought that was a little bit of insanity. I didn't have very long with him. I did encourage him to read the Bitcoin Standard book. I encourage everyone to read the Bitcoin Standard book. But I thought I'd just share that people are still not getting it. And the biggest thing is he was confusing crypto with Bitcoin, and we need to thank the mainstream news for that. So a PSA here, Bitcoin is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not crypto. Crypto is its own thing. Crypto is designed to get more Bitcoin, in my opinion. Anyway, it can't be a fishing expedition. This is in regards to the subpoena. It can't be just a fishing expedition where it's all information attached to any trade that was made between two given points in time. The obvious concern is that crypto traders, almost by definition, don't like having information shared about them. It's sort of an anathema to the ethos of crypto in general, but for the Bitcoin ETF to be successful, firms have to do it. To have institutions, and they are going to have these things in place to stop money laundering, to be able to tick all the boxes, their check boxes. It is what it is. Now, Robert F. Kennedy, definitely not a political channel. I'm here in Australia, so it's all entertainment for me, watching from the sidelines. Everything I've seen, I think, is good. I don't know if this is a little bit of a FUD article or not, but I'm just going to pull out the facts for you because the facts are cool. The big Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Sort of like when Trump was saying big, strong guy, huge, massive. Where's my big, strong guy? Does anyone remember that video? That was absolutely hilarious. I'll post it on Twitter, because I love the orange man, and I hope Robert F. Kennedy is just as entertaining. Now, the candidate isn't necessarily biased just because he owns Bitcoin. Reportedly, presidential candidate RFK Jr. has been caught supposedly in a lie about Bitcoin. Apparently, according to a CNBC report, the Kennedy family son previously stated publicly he was not an investor in Bitcoin, though recently reported he held downwards of $250,000 in the cryptocurrency in a financial disclosure form. RFK, at Bitcoin Miami, he told the crowd he'd defend the right of self-custody of Bitcoin and other digital assets. Now, I'm not here to give investment advice, he stated, echoing a popular reframe in online investment communities. Apparently, however, the good old boy took some advice himself while in Florida and invested at least $100,000 and won in crypto between the date of the conference and the end of the June, according to a filing CNBC obtained. Like a boss, what a guy. This is who we need. Presidential candidate buying Bitcoin, that's a win. That, regardless, 100% that's a win. That's amazing. So thankfully, For Bitcoin, at least, we need not be too concerned. Yes, a high-profile presidential challenger could likely tilt the scales if they endorse an asset while campaigning, but so could any number of world events. Bitcoin is almost assuredly a commodity under US law, meaning there can be stakeholders in the asset, but no single party would benefit most from its adoption. Kennedy, who has been accused of spreading anti-vaxxer disinformation, has garnered support among a number of Bitcoiners, including Block CEO Jack Dorsey. Jr. has been outspoken as support of crypto, including criticizing a proposed 30% tax on crypto mining and cooling, a recent spate of regulatory action against the industry, an extra legal war. I've never heard that. And I do have Haley Lennon on this Friday for a bit of a podcast, who is a Bitcoin lawyer. So I'll ask her about an extra legal war and what that means. That has damaged the country's economic prospects. Good on him. Absolutely good on him. It is good to see that he puts his money where his mouth is. And that this is hilarious. They're just taking the piss now that he's easily influenced by gun-ho conference goers, or even that he buys into the digital gold narrative. In regards to gun-ho conference goers, the people that are the loudest, the Bitcoin maxis, they've just put in the time, the effort, they understand the value proposition, what it's trying to do, how it is the world's greatest asset, the scarcest asset that's ever existed, one of the safest, most secure assets has ever existed. That's where that conviction and the maxi comes from. So it is what it is, and I think everything trends towards hard sound money. Further, I don't know if this number's right, but 0.00033 Bitcoin is almost certainly enough to make a rich man rich, but it's probably enough to hold him to his promises. Now, China, over to China. We love China, and one thing when I'm talking to people in my everyday life is they're so against Chinese people, and that makes absolutely no sense. There's one race, there's human, ladies and gentlemen. We may not like their political party. I don't like my political party here in Australia. I sure as hell don't like the political party or the politics over in the US, and I don't like the Communist Party in China. We need to distinguish or separate politics and people and not just throw them all in one basket. I don't think that's fair for anyone. So China should consider a yuan-backed stablecoin instead of a CBDC. If eventually the Chinese government wants to see the RMB used more freely in trade and commerce around the world, it may be that stablecoins are the path to do that more than a central bank digital currency. If central banks are going to upgrade their own systems to move away from legacy technology into more modern distributed ledger technology, that's great. There's a whole bunch of things that are useful from that, but I view that as a very different than the work that the private sector does to innovate on the public internet. Authorities in China would be hesitant to allow such a plan because capital controls and a ban on the free convertibility of the yuan are pillars of its economic policy. So it's very unlikely that they will go down the route of issuing a stablecoin. The IMF is saying that if they'd like to do that, IMF First Deputy Managing Director said that China would need to open its capital markets and allow for full currency convertibility should it want to challenge the dollar. Maybe they're not after becoming the world's global reserve currency, but that leads us back to what Robert Kiyosaki was saying here as part of the BRICS, which includes China, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa nations, to announce a gold-backed crypto August 22, 23. We're going to have to watch that very closely, and we'll see it goes against what the IMF is saying needs to happen for China to be able to come out and challenge the dollar. But the BRICS gold-backed crypto or a gold-backed currency will be a direct competitor to the dollar for sure. Now, a little bit more hopium in a way. This article's a little bit misleading. The facts are correct, so we'll stick to those. BlackRock Bitcoin ETF could unlock 30 trill. worth of wealth, Bloomberg analyst says. Following the BlackRock application, a Bitcoin spot ETF was never so close to being approved, and it could be a game changer for the crypto industry, which is fair enough. 30 trillion worth of capital could suddenly unlock for the Bitcoin market if a Bitcoin spot ETF is approved by US SEC. This is the estimated amount of assets controlled by financial advisors in the US who would be willing to get exposure to Bitcoin through a regulated exchange-traded fund. Just because they control 30 trillion doesn't mean they're going to put 30 trillion into Bitcoin. Yeah, let's make that distinction. It will be good, even if they allocate only 1 or 2%. Huge moves in the market, absolutely massive, but 30 trillion is not going to come into crypto overnight. Is Bitcoin eventually going to be at a 30 trillion market cap? Let's get to 5 and then 10 trillion first, yeah, before we go out all the way out there. Is it possible? Sure, probable. I think it's indefinite. It's just going to take a little while longer. The ETF is the format in which the boomers and the financial advisors prefer their investments delivered in. The involvement of BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, was enough to raise the chance of a Bitcoin spot ETF approval from 1% to 50%. That's the power of BlackRock. BlackRock literally own and run the world. They control US politics. They control absolutely everything. They are bum buddies with the SEC. They know something we don't. They know something that everyone else doesn't. And it says it here, they're very smart and they don't just throw filings out willy-nilly. They clearly see something out there that they think they can get through the regulators. 100% they can and they will. Real quick, hit subscribe if we vibe. Let's carry back on. Arbitrum has been hacked, or Rodeo Finance exploited for the second time, 1.5 million stolen. This is a problem with crypto here. People exploit it. Arbitrum still going to have a good narrative in the bull run after the halving there. Probably waiting now for some more substantial pullbacks. It probably has had a bit of a pullback on this news here. Arbitrum should be around the 50 mark somewhere. Arbitrum. It's been a while since I looked at it. I was stacking a little bit to hold on to, but I'm going to wait until September, as the markets are pretty bad in September now, and I may look to get into some of these shit coins to be able to flip. It has moved up in the... Why the hell? That's not what I clicked on. CoinGecko. How crazy is that? So I type in ARB, it brings up Arbitrum. I don't know why it kept going to Matic there. That was interesting. If we zoom out in the last 30 days, it is up, very similar to the Bitcoin chart, actually. 14 days, it is down, holding sideways. It's not too bad. Arbitrum, it is going to have a good narrative. It's still a shitcoin by all means, but it is what it is. But just know there was a hack on it, and these smaller projects it happens all the time, and it's just another day in crypto, and that's sad, and we get so used to it. Oh, it's only 1.5 million. It's 1.5 million of value that's been stolen from investors. You would have been better off buying Bitcoin. At least that's the way I approach it. 90-95% Bitcoin. Go out on the risk curve to be able to get more. It's worked well in the past, and it's going to continue to keep working. Real quick, Threads. Can someone let me know if they've used Threads? It's attached to Facebook, Meta, Zuck, and I just literally want nothing to do with it. But am I being biased, and should I try it out? Because they did get 100 million users when no other Twitter rivals could, due to network effects, easy use, integrated with Instagram, all that stuff. It is attached to Zuck. I'd like to know what your thoughts are on that one. It's Mark Zuckerberg, a rich, controlling billionaire who owns Facebook. I don't really like Facebook. I have it. Instagram I use a little bit. Am I being biased to tinfoil hat? Is Elon any better? I think he is. I'd like to know your opinion, and should I try it out? Anyway, we'll see you on the next video. Have a beautiful day. Hit subscribe. Be blessed.